Well, hello and welcome, Power Partners, to our informational barnyard. Yet this is the playground of Starstyle. Be the Star You Are, coming to the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity and on the broadcast network of Voice America Media. This is the Empowerment Channel. I'm Cynthia Brian. I'm your host, and I am happy to be with you today. The miracle moment for today brought to you by Be the Star You Are. You can visit Be the Star You Are at bethestarur.org, is from Gertrude Wister. The flowers of late winter and early spring occupy places in our hearts well out of proportion to their size. Now, you might wonder why I was doing that particular quote for today. Well, because we're going to go into the garden first thing and going to just talk about what is happening in the February garden. And interestingly, here in Northern California, we haven't had any rain since December until today. We had a little bit of a drizzle. So the garden, it's like early spring here in Northern California, probably all over California, but I haven't been. So that's what we'll be talking about in segment one is how you can complete some chores this month and you can enjoy your beautiful spring flowers, even though it's only February. And then in segment two, did you know that you can boost your immune system by eating certain fresh foods? Over 1.3 million people were hospitalized with influenza during the 24-25 flu season. And of course, flu season is in full swing right now. So we want you to eat the right things so that you can stay healthy this year. And I'm also going to talk a bit about anxiety because everybody gets stressed and anxious from time to time. And our brains amp up anxiety, but our brains also have the potential to calm our stress. So we're going to learn how to reframe our thoughts and our worries. Well, going into the garden, I mean, December was really, really rainy here in California, but the warm, dry January has just erupted an early spring here in my garden. I mean, the green grass blankets the hillsides alongside the oxalis shamrocks. They usually bloom in March, but they're in full bloom right now. Narcissi and daffodils. Narcissus are part of daffodils, or daffodils are part of narcissus, but they've all sprouted, and their fragrance and beauty are the focus of vases that I've been gifting friends. I've been making little, I call them posies, little cut arrangements with these really, really fragrant narcissi, putting them in a pretty little vase. And if I see a friend or visit a friend or they come over, I give them a jar of these. It's really pretty. The succulents are thriving. My jade is in full bloom. The Bradford pear trees are already sporting their creamy white flowers. Bees are buzzing around the camellia and the viburnum. The calla lilies are declaring that the season of rebirth is nigh because snapdragons are blooming between the green fawns of the naked ladies. As you know, naked ladies, they definitely have just a one stalk that goes up in the summertime, but in the wintertime, the naked ladies have these big, big fronds of greenery that are kind of like agapanthus. And so right now, my hills and my garden are just green everywhere. Now, California poppy seeds that I scattered in late fall have popped up everywhere, including on pathways, and winter greens of arugula and cabbage and Swiss chard and chives and ramps. Ramps are wild onions, lettuces. They're all making way to my dining table. Carrots and beets are planted in late fall. They're ready to harvest. So if you planted them, you can be harvesting them now. And with all these early blooming flowers, the beneficial insects, the birds, the hummingbirds are flocking to the garden. Now, Valentine's Day is coming up. It's just a few days away. So, the February garden promises a romance in nature. Most gardens usually seem bare, sleepy, maybe even lifeless at this time of the year. However, what you really need to know is that the underground roots are growing, and it's always the bulbs that are bursting forth first, and then the flowers are braving the unpredictable weather to share their love. Now, gardeners can express their devotion to a future flourishing landscape by pruning back roses, berries, and fruit trees right now. Excuse me. And although this is an unusually pleasant February, it isn't too late to plant for a really beautiful and bountiful spring. So if you want lots of flowers blooming in your garden, don't be afraid to plant things now. You got to be prepared for cool nights and occasional frosts. So it is necessary to continue protecting tender plants by wrapping them in burlap or cotton sheets. And then to get a jump start on spring planting, take advantage of the warm spells that we are experiencing. Water sparingly, as February rainfall normally provides substantial moisture, although it hasn't yet. We do have a prediction here for some rain in the next couple of days. We'll see how much. Today it was supposed to be a downfall, a downpour. It was scheduled to be 98% rain all day, and instead we just had, I don't know, just a little bit of a flicker. I was out in the barnyard feeding the animals and collecting the eggs and watching the fun that the rabbits and the goats and the chickens and the bunnies and the pigs were all having. So, as you enjoy an early show, if you have it in your part of the country, just remember we still have quite a bit to do in the garden as we march on. So, here's my Goddess Gardener guide for February. These are some things that I think are a good idea to do. Flip through seed catalogs and you'll find new specimens for your spring and summer gardens. Clean and sharpen tools to be ready for March Madness. Spray your roses, your fruit trees, and other deciduous trees with the final dormant spray to keep the bugs at bay. Refresh houseplants, repot with fresh potting soil, prune any dead leaves, and also give a jolt of fertilizer. That'll really do well right now. Clean bird houses, fill the feeders because we want to attract our feathered friends with clean, fresh water, especially in the fountains and the bird baths because the birds, especially the hummingbirds, they need to clean their beaks when because they get sticky. Now, plant your tender summer bulbs now, like gladiolus, cannas, dahlia, caladium. Um, from now until the end of the month works out really well. Prune your fuchsias and any still dormant shrubs or trees. You can prune your fruit trees like your apples, pears, peaches before the buds break. Now, if you see buds already on the branches, don't prune them. Otherwise, you're going to prune off what would be the fruit. And don't prune spring flowering specimens like tulips, lilac, or magnolia right now because they are all getting ready to bloom if they're not already blooming. Camellias are in full bloom. That's I was saying I have bees that are just buzzing around my camellias. So pick a few stems and float them in a bowl indoors. It's really pretty. That's what I'm going to do for Valentine's is just fill bowls with the red camellias and sprinkle some hearts around. Add color to your drab landscape by planting eye-popping primrose, cyclamen, or impatiens. Love your heart by eating healthy fresh greens, berries, and fruits, and combine that, of course, with exercising and positive thinking. It is now, you can also sow seeds of carrots, beets, radishes, turnips, lettuce, spinach, peas, fava beans, and you'll have a continued harvest. Even though you're harvesting some now, you can continue if you keep sowing them. It's a good time to transplant your starts of broccoli, cabbage, kale, Swiss chard, leeks, and onions. Also, you'll find in your nurseries, you'll find pansies and violas, sweet peas, larkspur, calendulas. Go ahead and get them planted. Calendulas, I just want to tell you, are really easily planted by seed, and they'll come up every year. So instead of having to buy them, you maybe buy them once and then save the seeds and plant them. It's time to divide the perennials that you have, like daylilies and irises. If irises get too congested, they won't bloom. So it's you can just divide them now, and just those rhizomes, you can stick them anywhere and they'll grow. Feed your roses and fruit trees with organic fertilizer and compost. If you haven't already, you can now buy the bare root roses, bare root berries, bare root fruit trees, and also grapes. Follow the directions to plant and get it done before the end of the month. You don't have to mow your lawns every week now because the cooler weather slows the growth. So mow only when it's necessary, and never ever mow when it is raining because, or if the grass is extremely wet, because not only will you hurt the turf, but you'll cause grooves in the soil, and that might encourage weeds. Watch for snails and slugs. I have a lot of them. I hand pick them. I use barriers. I throw organic sluggo. You got to kill these destructive mollusks. Sometimes I just pick up a bucket and I fill a bucket and I feed it to the chickens. It's one of their favorite foods. Amend the soil with compost to improve the structure and the fertility. And don't forget to weed. While the weeds are young and the soil is soft, they're so much easier to remove. Every day when I go up those 108 stairs to feed my barnyard animals, on my way up, I pick at least a 5-gallon bucket of weeds. It's better if I pick two 5-gallon buckets, but sometimes that gets too heavy. So I'll at least do one. And so then mulch your beds to suppress additional weeds and apply dormant oil sprays to the fruit trees. And of course, since it's Valentine's Day, you can always share, a bouquet of something beautiful from your garden with your loved one. Or my favorite thing is to give a gift of a potted plant, whether it's for indoors or outdoors, because it won't die and they can plant it and then you'll always be remembered when they look at it. So happy gardening, happy growing, happy love month. And you are listening to Cynthia Brian. This is Star Style. Be the star you are. I will be right back. So stay with me. Don't go away. Everyone likes to be respected and listened to. If you want to be successful in business, you'll need to build an attitude of trust. People want to be around and work with those who are sincerely interested in them. By honestly caring for your clients, you build strong lines of communication and trust, and that way you can win the job. How can you build relationships on trust and still have a very human connection? Here are a few strategies you could try. Be yourself. Open up. Be passionate. Find a personal connection. Have simple and clear messages. Listen to your audience. Practice, practice, practice. And always remember that the client is the most important person. So be interested and curious. You are the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. I'm Cynthia Brian with another business bite from Starstyle. For more information, visit cynthiabrian.com. That's Cynthia Brian, Brian with an I.com. Well, we're back. We are listening to Star Style Be the Star You Are with me, Cynthia Brian. We're in the barnyard, I call it. It's our positive media barnyard. And what we're going to talk about now is some foods that can help fight the flu. I mean, today, my teens who are going to be doing Express Yourself called in that they're unable to do a show because they have the flu. So we're right in the middle of flu season. I hope you've gotten your flu shot. It's really important to get these vaccines because so many things are preventable and these vaccines are safe. And the good thing is if you do get the flu, or COVID or whatever, you're going to be a lot less sick. So even though if it may not prevent it completely, you'll be have less disease, and that's really important. So what you eat and drink can build a stronger immune system and more defense this winter and always. As many as 1.3 million people were hospitalized with flu during the 24-25 flu season. 1.5 million people. And this year, it is also ranking up to be a really big flu season. But if we can prepare a bit by eating correctly, it's going to help our immunity. And especially as we get older and immunity declines, if we get some right nutrients, we can help boost that immune system to protect us against all those infections. So, here are a few of the foods that can really help you. And you know what? They're all really good. So, sweet potatoes. I love sweet potatoes, and they are a great source of beta carotene, which is a phytonutrient, and it supports our respiratory and intestinal health, and it increases immune cells in the body. So, this is important for anyone and especially for adults since our bodies make fewer immune cells as we age. Now, the way that I like to do my sweet potatoes, really simple. I just wash them. I prick them with, an ice pick or a fork or something. I put them in the oven and roast them until they are soft. And then I cut them and just squeeze out the middle, and then I discard the skin on them. That's one way, and they're really sweet and good. You can put a little butter, you can put cinnamon, or just eat them like that. I just eat them like that. They're great. If you want it to be a little more savory, cut them up and toss them with some olive oil, oregano, thyme, and some black pepper, and you'll really enjoy it that way too. The next thing are berries. All berries are rich in vitamin C, and that stimulates production of infection fighting white blood cells. There was a 2018 review of studies that found that eating berries increased levels of disease fighting cells, such as natural killer cells, which is a type of white blood cell, and T cells. So eat some berries. If you are, I'm not a big blackberry lover. I grow them, but I don't really love them that well. But I think I really like blueberries. And the good thing about blueberries is you can buy some organic blueberries at the store and only wash them as you need them, and they'll last a really long time in the refrigerator. So those are a really good thing. Now, beans, you've all heard how good beans are in many cultures. Beans are, an actual staple of a diet, but they're very high in zinc, and that helps boost your body's production of white blood cells. So, a zinc deficiency has been linked to immune system dysfunction. So, you want to eat at least a half cup of cooked beans 2 or 3 times a week. And it doesn't really matter what kind of beans, but just eat some beans. Nuts and seeds are my fourth recommendation because nuts and seeds are rich in vitamin E, which plays a key role in our immune system, and it supports the growth of germ-fighting T cells. Now, walnuts are one of the best choices. I have a hard time with walnuts. I grew up on the farm. We actually grew walnuts as one of our crops. And so I had to pick a lot of walnuts and we ate a lot of walnuts. But for some people, and I'm one of them, when I eat a walnut, I get I don't know, something, it has something in my mouth and it doesn't taste so good. But I like them if they're cooked or sautéed, but eating a raw walnut doesn't do it for me. But walnuts are really, if you don't have that problem, they are really good for immune supporting the linolenic acid. Then it's probably better than any other nut. But otherwise, I keep a jar of nuts on my desk. I keep some almonds and cashews, which I love, pistachios, mix them all together. And one of the things I've been doing lately is I chop up some rosemary and garlic and then add it to the nuts, and it just gives a really wonderful flavor to the nuts. If you haven't had kefir, it is terrific. The compounds in fermented dairy products like kefir, think of it as like a thin, drinkable yogurt. They have anti-inflammatory properties, and this helps fight the immune system, and it helps keep away all those viral infections. So any fermented dairy is really rich in probiotics, and these have a positive effect on our immune system. So think about kefir. You can get that at the store, or, again, just you could just eat yogurt. Yogurt is really good for you too. Salmon. I never order salmon if I go to a restaurant, but I really love to cook it and prepare it in a lot of different ways because I think I make the best salmon ever. And when I have people for dinner and I make salmon, they always say, "Oh, this is just so good." To me, the secret of cooking salmon is to undercook it, not to make it tough or, too dry. So it is one of the few foods that provides vitamin D, which plays a huge role in regulating our immune system. Of course, vitamin D, we call it the sun vitamin, because if you're supposed to get at least 20 minutes of sun every day or vitamin D. But a 2020 study found people with vitamin D deficiency were almost twice as likely to test positive for COVID-19. So that's why a lot of doctors were prescribing people to take a supplement of vitamin D if you weren't getting any sunshine or eating your salmon. But by having it also is filled with omega 3s, as you know. So have at least a serving of salmon once a week and you'll probably be good. The last thing on my list for fighting the flu is garlic. Now, being Italian, I eat a lot of garlic. Yes, it keeps the vampires away and it probably keeps people away too, but it is rich in a compound that's called allium, and that may be the source of its immune boosting power. The 2020 review found that garlic not seems it seems to stimulate the cells that are related to immune system function. To me, garlic makes everything taste better. And the other good thing about garlic is when you use garlic, you don't usually have to put too much salt. So if you're trying to watch your sodium, just add more garlic. And I think it's good. Just make sure everybody around you eats garlic because it does, if you eat too much, it really does come out of your pores. You can smell it. But I do think it just makes everything taste better. Now, I want to just do a little bit of curving here and talk about some natural cures if you are anxiety prone or your nerves feel jangled. These are some proven ways that you can calm your anxiety and focus your mind and free yourself from dread because anxiety is just part of the human experience and it transcends age or gender or socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter what culture you're from or if you're a celebrity, it just really doesn't matter. You might remember that Barbara Streisand back in 1967 was performing a concert in New York Central Park, and she forgot the lyrics to several of her songs, and her anxiety became so great that she was afraid that if she sang again in public that she would forget the lyrics. So she didn't even perform anywhere in front of an audience for another 27 years. So that is crazy. We don't want anxiety to strangle us like that. But the good news is that the same brain that creates this anxiety or in our anxious thoughts can also subdue them. So are a few ways that if you're feeling anxious that you can quell your unease. And I also just want to say by eating nutritious foods like I was just mentioning, this will keep you a little bit more in line too. But here's something interesting. So you want to get excited about life. Harvard Business School researchers subjected study participants to a series of stressful tasks and instructed them to say out loud either, I am anxious or I am excited, or to say nothing at all. And the interesting thing about this study is that the people who shouted, I'm excited, They performed better every single time on every single test. So just by voicing the words, I'm excited, you can actually transform your anxiety into enthusiasm. And that's something that I talk about a lot, is to be enthusiastic and excited about life. And when you are enthusiastic, it reframes kind of everything in your brain and even your body. And talking about reframing, we need to reframe our worries. Cognitive behavioral therapy, you might have heard of it. It's called CBT. It teaches people to change their negative thought patterns to a more effectively managing their emotional responses. So, how could you embrace CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, just on your own without anybody? First of all, you have to identify what's provoking your anxiety. Sometimes we run anxious thoughts and feelings, and we're recognizing and acknowledging them can make them more manageable. A lot of times we do this when we go to bed. We're kind of running through the scripts of what we have to do tomorrow or the next day or a week from now. So if we can just acknowledge what the issues are, we'll probably be able to sleep better and we'll be able to manage them. Also, the second thing is to challenge any of these anxious thoughts. Ask yourself, is this an anxious thought based on facts or is it an assumption? Are there other ways to look at this situation? What would I tell a friend if somebody asked me to help them, if they had this thought? So put yourself in the situation of be a friend to yourself. And then develop more positive thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to flunk this test, instead reframe it and say, it's going to be challenging, but I'm going to study hard and I know that I will be able to do well on it. Just reframing things can really help it. The final thing is really to practice mindfulness. I like to do a very short meditation every day just to kind of, I don't know, balance myself, ground myself for what my day is going to be, because anxiety is almost always focused on what's uncertain in the future. So if you're mindful and maybe you meditate just for a couple of minutes every day, just pay attention and be on purpose, be in the present moment. By being in the present, you're going to help yourself. Also, breathing, all kinds of breathing techniques are very helpful. When we're anxious or fearful, our breathing becomes erratic. It becomes shallow and it might become fast. So, if you can't calm your breathing, you could try to hum. This is how, you see the Buddhists, the monks, they're chanting or singing or humming. This actually works. It can be just one word, it can just be whatever it is that you want, because those actions activate the vagus nerve, which is that long cranial nerve that extends from your brain stem all the way to your pelvic floor, and it plays a crucial role in stimulating the part of your brain that controls anxiety. So that's an important thing. And then finally, always speak to your doctor, of course, about if you're having a lot of anxiety. Sometimes if you don't have enough vitamin B in your diet, you might be more anxious because vitamin B is vital for production and regulation of neurotransmitters, and those play a significant role in maintaining a stress-free life. I also have found that having vitamin B, if you tend to bruise, it really helps with bruising. But again, talk to your doctor. Always talk to your doctor about everything. I think it's going to help you a lot. Well, that is the show for today. So thank you again for staying tuned here to Starstyle, Be the Star You Are, coming to you on Voice America Media. We hope that we bring you some valuable information every week and also want to get you out into the garden. For more information about Starstyle Productions or to purchase any of my books, and the newest book is Flap Forward, Fly Free, which is a children's book. But the Be the Star You Are series has also been very helpful to people. Visit bethestaryouare.org and click on the Starstyle store, or you can go to cynthiabrian.com. That's Brian. Until next week, when we Celebrate again in my barnyard. Remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. For the next week, every day, remember to be kind, be inclusive, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, read, lead, succeed, communicate, collaborate, and innovate. And most of all, be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. Go out into the world and be the star you are. I'm Cynthia Brian, wishing you a very, very happy Valentine's Day. I hope that love comes your way, and just remember to love yourself because you are important. Thanks for joining me.